peaceful and profitable entrepreneurs. Happy Wednesday. This is our live stream today. A different angle today. I felt really dark from the other angle, so I'm trying something new. We're going to have Sara on today. She is one of our bookkeepers. She is amazing and she helps me file 1099s. This is our second year doing this together, so she'll hop on in a minute and we'll both go at this, and just excited to be here. As always, if you comment or ask a question or leave an emoji or anything, you'll be entered to win. I have a masterclass. It's the 4 ways to grow your business, so I'll be giving that away. So all you have to do is comment or just ask a question, and we'll pick a winner on Friday. So if you're here, please say hi. We love questions, and this is really to be informative for y'all, to learn from our experience. So I have, if you don't know me or my background, I'm going into my 7th year of business. My background, I majored in accounting. I got my CPA, and then 7 years ago, this January, I started taking clients for my bookkeeping business. So the first 5 years was just bookkeeping, and now I've taken on a team of bookkeepers, and they support our clients, and I do the kind of advisory, like creating profit and revenue stuff with our clients. So it's just been a great journey, and I've learned a lot over the years. This will be my 7th year of filing 1099s, and so it's just fun to share some things we've learned along the way that aren't totally intuitive for some people, and just things that people can learn from us. So if you're here, say hi. I'm just gonna wait a second for Sara. I was kind of thinking she was gonna have to do this herself because we lost internet. I'm in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and it was like after a hurricane when no one has power and everyone just goes out to the streets and starts chatting and hanging out. We were just like all out in the streets like, what's going on? No one has internet. Like Sullivan's Island didn't have internet. Mount Pleasant didn't have internet. Downtown didn't have internet. Like I was like, there's literally nowhere I can go. My apps weren't working, like hotspots weren't working. So they figured it out, and now I'm here. But I was texting Sara. I was like, you might just have to do this on your own. Let's see, maybe I can add her. Let's see. Oops. I don't know. I think I was supposed to like, let her know that, or I didn't like turn it on somehow. So I don't know, maybe she's here now. I don't know, Sara, you here? Let me look. I'm supposed to do something else. Let's see if I can invite her that way. We were doing these on Zoom, but I don't know, Facebook and Zoom just kind of lost the connection. So I don't know what was going on. Maybe I can tag her. I don't know exactly. I know she's probably here. But anyway, we'll give her a second to hop on. But so this is pretty, my framework is mindset, strategy, organize, implement, and this is definitely heavier on the strategy organize side. So hi Nadine, it's so great to see you. Thanks for joining. Great to have you here. But I do want to start with kind of the mindset piece, which is that like mistakes happen in business, y'all. Like this is what I do for a living, and like shit just happens sometimes. And the whole thing is to just not make yourself wrong for that, and just know that like these mistakes I'm going to tell y'all have legit happened to us, and we've learned along the way, and now we've kind of built it into our like systems and processes with our clients. But like you still can't predict everything, and you still can't have everything be perfect all the time, especially when you're trying to get information from other people or working with other people. Hi Sara, having a hard time joining in. I don't know. Hi Nadine, thanks for saying hi. I don't know why it's not Sara, let's see, said guest reviewers. It's not saying invite. It says I sent you an invite to watch. Let's see. I don't know. That's so weird, Sara. So yeah, Sara, I sent you, is it like letting you allow? Okay, I turned it back on. Sara, try again, because maybe I turned it off. Sorry, Nadine, we're having issues here with my, it says allow viewers wants to join. Yes, okay, we're cooking with gas now. Um, I did this with our social media manager a couple months ago, and it wasn't a thing. Hi, Sarah. So good to see you.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, no, I think I had like it was on to let other people join, and then I think I toggled it off. So I don't know.
Well,
But
yeah, and I'm on my phone too, so
yeah,
I figured it out on my phone.
yeah.
So we'll try to set this off.
We're here, cook with gas. I was just telling, I know Nadine is here, and I think some other people are watching. So just telling them to like be sure to ask questions and use us as a resource. And I was talking about how this is our second year doing this together, and we've kind of created a process around it, and we'll definitely be sharing that. And I was telling them about how like the things that we're going to share today like have literally been things that have happened in my business, and so like not to make yourself wrong if something happens or you have to refile something or do it differently. So that's just kind of what I was starting with. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I will say that a lot of times, like, this is the end of the year. This is like the hustle and bustle of like the holidays and with everything, for example, my husband decided to jump into our basement project at this time of the year. And so it's like a whole bunch of stuff going on right now that like you have to remember that it's the little details at the end of the year that really matter the most. And so you want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row so that you can submit for these 1099s and what we're going to talk about today. And you just want to make sure that you have everything organized and ready to go so that you don't make any mistakes, because if you do, as you know, it can be a little more cumbersome after the fact to go back and try to correct those mistakes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And we'll just start off there with 1099s for anyone who doesn't know. It's a subcontractor, so if you're paying employees at the end of the year, they get a W-2, and then for subcontractors at the end of the year, they get a 1099 because the government does not want them making money and not reporting it. So that's some of the reason that people won't want to give you a W-9 that you're requesting is because they don't want a 1099 because they aren't reporting it as income. And so I'm always like, do not work with those people. We always say to get a W-9 on the front end, but that's kind of the reasoning for these forms. And so it's, someone who's a subcontractor, they make over $600 in the year. They're not an S corporation or they're not a corporation. I think the other thing is if they're paid with a credit card, they don't receive a 1099 from you, which I don't really understand still. They're supposed to receive a 1099K from the credit card company, but like, I don't know how that works, but whatever. So if you're paying on your checking account, Venmo, anything like that, make sure that you've, got that information on file. And then it's a 1099 NEC, which is non-employee compensation, which used to be the 1099 miscellaneous. And now 1099 miscellaneous is more for rent. So it's like box 7 for like rent payments. So to landlords, if you're paying rent. Anything else? And I have my forms.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing that you mentioned the Venmo as being a bank, because you don't think of Venmo as being something that's like your primary bank account, or like PayPal or anything like that. But Venmo and PayPal are included in those bank accounts. So those are, anybody that's paid via Venmo should also be included in your category for the 1099s at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I mentioned that last week too with not leaving Venmo as a vendor for anyone. It's one of my like pet peeves, and I'm like always shouting it from the rooftops because some business owners think that because they pay with Venmo, they just use Venmo as the vendor, and it's like not there. And it's like, that is not true. But we order forms every year just to CYA and make sure that nothing happens. But I've got them here. So you file 1099s electronically, and then if it has an error or something needs to be changed, you have to do them on paper. So we've got these beautiful forms that have like carbon copies, and you have to handwrite all of them, and then tally them up by hand and put them on 1096 as the cover page. You have to mail them to the government. If anything changed on the subcontractor side, you have to mail them one. It's not fun. So that's just like wanted to show everybody. This is why we're having this conversation today. So we kind of talked about the mindset piece a little bit. This is more strategy and organized focus. So the strategy piece is like what comes up for me is do simple better. So make sure you have a nice, simple process for this. So my process kind of changed when I brought on Sara, like just to have another person in it. Like I tweaked a few things, but what we do with our clients stays the same. It's just kind of how we stay in communication and track this. But do you have anything to add? It's just kind of like keeping up with it through the year is kind of our main strategy.
That really is it. That's the number one thing is that you want to do. You don't want to rush at the end of the year because we have clients, you and I, that, they have several vendors, like in like the 40s for the amount of vendors that they have. And so trying to get those W-9s at the end of the year with that end of year rush, and you're trying to be with family and trying to plan for the holiday dinner and everything, that's not something that's on their front end mind to be able to send to you right away. So you're likely not going to get that on time for filing, online. So you want to really make sure that you that you're constantly thinking about it through the year. And so every time you have a new vendor, if you're seeing that might be a vendor that's used throughout the year, you're going to plan to potentially use them for more than that $600 minimum amount, and you're going to be paying them via your bank account. You want to make sure that you go into their vendor profile and just check off to track as your 1099. Another thing that we do at the end of the year, which I think is fantastic, is just to make sure that you don't miss anybody, is you run a profit and loss report, and you just go through each little item, each section, just to see if there's anybody that you might have missed on selecting as your track for 1099 payments. Because if you don't check that box, it's not going to come up when you go to run those 1099s. So that's
like if they're in repairs and maintenance instead of the subcontractors account, like that, or advertising. I see that happen a lot with
cleaning.
Yeah,
the cleaning expense.
Yeah. So that's a great point. That's just kind of our overall strategy. And then, these are due by the end of January. And so just making sure that you're like on top of it. We like to get a copy of the W-9, and we save it in ShareFile, and we attach it in QuickBooks. So you can attach it to their vendor profile, which is super handy. And you can write notes, and that's just a great place. Like if you have been contacting them and they're not giving you a W-9, like definitely track, like contacted them on this date, emailed on this date, and like track those times, because if the IRS did come back, you want to prove that like you tried to get it from them. Again, obviously do not work with them if they don't give you one. It's kind of like a lesson learned. But save, if you have the email thread of you requesting it and you just don't ever get it, print a PDF, attach it to their vendor profile just so you have that backup.
Yeah, I absolutely. And those kinds of organization skills are really going to help you in the long run. So that's definitely something that I do as well. Make those little notes. And it's really helpful for yourself. So like, well, how often have you been requesting this from that vendor?
Because we forget. It's like, oh yeah, back in April?
Right.
Oh yeah, I was already asking since then. Like that's
right. Yeah, like maybe I should touch base with them again.
Yeah, like and Intuit has a way where if you check the 1099 box on the vendor profile, you can go to like a certain section of I think it's under payroll or something, and you can, if they're checked as a contractor, you can send them an email to get the 1099 information. Some people have a hard time with that if they have another Intuit account set up, like it doesn't talk and it doesn't want them to like do it through there. And it gives them a hard time. So that's when I'm like, just do it on paper. Whatever, we'll take the paper copy and save it. But that's just kind of our.
You can even email it to people. There's a fillable form that you can also download. I think there's something that you can download through PDF Filler or something like that online. Sorry, my dog's.
I know, mine's back. That's why this works. I'm like, if I close it, she's gonna go crazy. So
I know, it's like my door was closed earlier, and then they're like, okay, let's come on in and see what she's doing in here because she's making noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so PDF Filler, I think, gives you a free form that you can download and send via email to people for them to just type in and apply an electronic signature to. So those are like, because I know that it's a lot easier for some people to just say all electronic, and to like
Mm-hmm.
have to print everything out and do everything paper is sometimes a hassle. So making sure that you have those different options are also really good and easier for you to get those and get those in the long run,
Yeah,
get those forms.
that's a great point. So that's definitely the strategy piece. So now we'll kind of jump into the organized piece, which is the meat of what we're talking about today. And I think it's like the 5 things that I've learned along the way. And the first one is if your business name or EIN changed, you need to manually change that. So when you go to file 1099s in QuickBooks, it will take you to Intuit, like 1099. It's a separate platform. So if you changed your business name or doing business as, or you got a new EIN, like if you changed your entity to like not just taking the S Corp election, but if you actually changed to an S Corp and get a new EIN, you can change it in QuickBooks. But if you filed previously in Intuit, it's going to have that same information. So you have to manually go change it. So just noting it doesn't automatically flow through. Anything to add about that, Sarah? I mean, I learned this like the hard way, like,
Well,
obviously, like the client changed entity type and yeah.
yeah, and I think the one good thing that you always tend to do is you always make sure that for our own clients is you want to make sure that none of their EINs have changed or none of their addresses have changed. And you want to make sure that, not only with that, it's just going slow and making sure that all of like you dot all your I's and cross all your T's. And you just want to make sure that you just take a moment and like look at everything thoroughly before moving on to the next screen. Because I think there's a screen at the end where if you hit that button, you can't go back.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you double check, triple check all of your items. Subcontractors, you want to make sure that their information hasn't changed. And that's, good for you to, if you're that subcontractor, you want to make sure that you tell your accountant if your address has changed or if anything's changed so that they're on top of it at the end of the year and nothing's in that you get your 1099 properly.
Yeah, and that's into number 2. If your subcontractor's name or address changed, that's when you manually change it. So you can update that in QuickBooks, but when
Mm-hmm.
you go through into the Intuit filing, like you have to change it there. And so that's just an extra step because it already pulled from QuickBooks with the old address. And so that's when we usually like to take the time to, before we hit submit, we view the 1099 form so we can see the filer's information and the recipient's information. And so you can, like, obviously, if you have 40 subcontractors, you're not going to like go double check everybody. But like, if you know the people that changed, you would just go in and make sure that they that got updated there. Anything else around that? Just because that, like, once it does that initial pull into the Intuit filing, it doesn't do it again,
No.
which is annoying. Like,
Yeah.
why? But it pulls the number, like it'll pull the subcontractor payment number.
Right.
But yeah, it's not like updating their information. So I think, yeah, those are kind of the first 2 things to note. Anything else there around that?
Not for those 2 numbers, but that does bring us to number 3 with the different payments that we have for our subcontractors. So if you have any type of reimbursed expenses, you don't want to include that in their salary and in their pay. So you need to separate that out and split that out from their pay so that they're not over reporting their income when they get their 1099 information. So you just want to make sure you split out those reimbursed expenses, like anything that's really not pertinent to what they've done for you as a subcontractor.
Yeah, like we do that with our software fees. Like if we pay software fees, the few clients that we do that for, like that's split from the bookkeeping and advisory services. Because it's not income to me, it's just reimbursed for what I paid for them. Same thing if you have people out working in your shop or out doing something and buying supplies for you. And we usually try to look for that. If the payment is like a weird number, like it has weird dollars or weird cents, like we try to like, make a note and ask about that. But otherwise, if it's like a round number, like we don't assume that it has anything. And so we really rely on our clients to like let us know. And so, just making sure we're in communication about that. Like we always send them the totals first. Does this look correct? Let me know if there's any reimbursed expenses in here, like, because otherwise we have no idea.
Right.
And so that's like a big thing we ask them to sign off on, because they're not sending us every receipt for all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, and it's like they don't
Like,
need to be paid. It's not income to them to report to the IRS if they paid for some office supplies or postage.
right.
It's not fair to them to, over report their revenue for something that doesn't, it's not revenue. So
Exactly.
that's the thing.
Exactly. That can usually bring you into like a different tax bracket too.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want to make
Yeah.
sure that you're not doing that to your contractors.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay that.
No, yeah, it's like it's not. And that kind of goes back to like the subcontractors being sure to let you know. And even when we were talking about change of address, like once you get that W-9 form in the beginning from someone, it's really up to them to let them, if their address changed. So it's not like you're having to contact, like you have tons of subs or, like my husband's a builder. So that's what comes to mind. Like they have tons of subs. So it's not their job to like reach out to everyone and you're in to be like, is this address we have on file correct? Like it's up to them to let you know. So that's just kind of part of that. And same with the reimbursed expenses, is making sure that you or whoever is doing the bookkeeping knows what the payments were for.
Yeah. No, I agree. Definitely.
And then we're on to the last one. For corporations, deselect track payments for 1099 in their vendor profile. So if you get a W-9 and they say that they are an S Corp or a corporation, they don't receive one, you really just have to go into their vendor profile and uncheck the box, because the way QuickBooks, you select the accounts that should be pulled for 1099. So if you don't deselect that box and they're in that like subcontractor account or rent, landlords might be corporations. So it will still pull them through. So you have to be sure to deselect it. Anything else around that? Like these are.
Yeah, that's
Dry.
yeah, that's pretty cut and dry. I think there was also, I think we skipped one item, was that that you want to make sure that subcontractors aren't double, aren't in your system as a double contractor. So you just want to make sure that you merge those contractors if you need to and put them under their proper accounts so that you're not doing too much work or extra work.
Yeah, I'm
Essentially.
glad you mentioned that one, because that actually happened. I was on a call yesterday and we were going through books, and there were like two different, somebody else had been doing the bookkeeping. There were two different CPA firms set up, but they were the same one. So it was just, it's like, I'm not touching anything filed in a prior year, but making sure that this year all the payments were under the same vendor. And then, we just kind of deactivated that other account, which doesn't change anything. Previously, it just changes going forward. It's not available to select it. So a lot of these subcontractors I see for like advertising or photography or something, they'll have a business name and then like the check is made out to their personal name. And so making sure that like those, like when you get the W-9 and you see like, oh yeah, I've seen this business and I actually set this person up too because I didn't know they were the same person.
Right.
Like big red flag, like make sure it's all consolidated.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's when doing that final review before you hit submit and like looking at the 1099s, like the 1096, the cover sheet, and then the recipients, and kind of just like double checking, especially if you are the business owner filing this. Like for us, unless the client tells us or gives us a W-9 that these two people are the same, we don't know. But, if that's your business and you're doing it, you probably have a good idea that like, oh, like Sara is the subcontractor, but this is her business, and oops, I didn't like merge those together. So that would just be kind of an easy like thing to see. Just making sure that it's all under one place.
Exactly. Now, and circling back to like what you showed in the beginning and showing your different forms that you got from the IRS to kind of prep for this, what forms would you suggest for people to have as their backup so that they have it ready to go if that becomes something that they need to submit to the IRS at a later point?
Yeah, good point. So the 1099 miscellaneous are for the subcontractor. No, for the rents. Sorry.
Yeah.
1099 NEC is the subcontractor. So 1099 miscellaneous used to be for everyone, but now in the like past 2 years, it's just for rent. Obviously there are other things that fall on that form, but just for usually our business and what we're doing, our purposes as business owners, those are the two forms you're filing. And then 1096 is kind of the cover page. So each of those sets of forms has like a cover page with the total on it and the number of forms filed. So a lot of our clients have like, they might have 10 NEC forms with one, 1096 for that. And then they might just have one 1099 miscellaneous because they have one rent payment that they make to one landlord. And so then that has its own 1096. So they're separate and they both need to be filed and they both have the same filing deadlines. It's just a matter of like filing them like each one separately.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then I think about the people who might not have QuickBooks, and it's like wild to think of people who might not have
Oh my God.
QuickBooks.
I like my mind is blown. Like my neighbor, she makes jewelry. If anybody in Charleston is here, her name's Dee Rule. She's great. But she does know an accountant who he files the 1099s by paper. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I could really gouge out my eye. Like there's just no way. You're like having to write everything and like
Every little thing.
mess up. You got to do the form over and then like type that calculator to like get the total for the 1096 and you have to tear them all apart, put them in all the different envelopes. Like this one's for the business owner, this one's for the subcontractor, this one's for the government. And in some states, like Intuit will tell you if they require a state filing. Like South Carolina, we don't have one. I don't think your state has one either, but not many do. But some of them do. So then you'd have to have one for the state. And it's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's too, if you thought that like your office was already disorganized with all your year end and stuff, it's like, can you imagine having to do that and then getting the postage, getting the envelopes, getting everything in the mail, and then just expecting it all to show up. Because what if it gets lost in the mail? Because, again, it's this time of year where everything is in the mail and everybody's trying to send everything. And it's so much more secure and less.
And it's like $20 to like file through Intuit. I'm like, like,
no.
Form pays for itself every month. And then the Intuit filing is like $20. Like obviously the more you file, the more you're going to pay. Exactly. I don't know what the highest.
There's like different tiers, I think, on how
there's early bird filing discounts and stuff. But I mean, even if you're paying like $80, it's like that saved you at least an hour. So I'm sure it's like your time. Like it's
definitely worth it.
Yeah.
If anybody's wondering.
If anyone is catching the replay or anything and has questions or anything, please reach out and let us know. But Sara, do you want to like tell us a little bit more about yourself? And I'd love to hear more about like what you're doing for Christmas this year and all the fun stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've been really busy these last couple of months. We moved in August, so I moved everything to, I'm still in Maryland, obviously, but I moved to a different house. It's what we're calling a forever home now. And so we had a little, for the fall season, we had so many different events, so many different people coming through the house. We had a little housewarming in October. We hosted our own Thanksgiving here. We got this huge table now that we can fit a lot of people around. So it's always nice to come together with the family. So we hosted Thanksgiving. Last weekend we hosted Friendsgiving, which was Italian style.
Sounds amazing.
And then we're actually going to have a bunch of people over for Christmas too. We're like the hosts of the family.
Well, now we have the house and the table, so obviously we're the clear choice for that.
So I mean, the last week of Christmas, we're gonna have my parents are coming in town from Tennessee. My twin sister's coming in town from Tennessee, and my other sister's coming in town from West Virginia. So we have the whole gang coming together for Christmas to spend time for that entire week, and it's really nice to get everybody together. We really enjoy the company. My husband is a huge fan of Christmas lights. So we have 3 trees in our house currently.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
wow.
one of them has a
Wow.
penguin, so we have a
Oh,
little white
nice.
Christmas
Oh,
tree.
yay. I see the
But
Santa
everything,
in the background.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Santa in the background
the
over
trees.
here. And this year we set everything up on Alexa, so it's all automated. So
Oh, wow.
it's
Man,
pretty
oh,
cool.
fancy. We still got
Yeah,
our box of lights that Adam's like, I might throw it around the tree
yeah.
one day. And I'm like, I mean,
I've got my Christmas ornaments that I haven't hung on the trees yet, but at least the trees are up and they're making it seem really nice and cozy in here.
yeah. Yay, all good.
Yeah.
Well, yay. Well, I think that's it. If anybody again has questions, like that's what we're here for. And then if you're joining and you're like, no, I don't want help with, 1099s, like I need help with building my business. I need help getting fully booked. I need help figuring out how to get clients and, my pricing and all that stuff. Like, your best next step is a free Get Honest with Your Strategy to Scale call. I'll drop the link below. But that's really when we spend 30 minutes together to look at your business and really focus on like what's going well, what challenges do you face, and then creating action steps, because really, this group is called Peaceful and Profitable Entrepreneurs. And that's really what we're here about, is helping you have peace with 1099 filings, and then how do we create more profit? And a lot of times that lever to press is revenue. So that's what I really love working with business owners on. So again, I'll drop the link below, and we really appreciate everybody joining us, because I know that it's hard to there's a million things out there to spend your time on. So we really appreciate y'all for being here. And yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for joining
Yeah,
me. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you. I always really like joining you too.
I
So
know. I
thanks for
was like,
letting me
looking
join.
at it, I'm like, you just might have to do it.
No, you're so good at it.
But we're up and running, so we're good.
Yay. All right, take
All
care.
right, bye. Bye, y'all.